Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Guys, the start of our 10th year on the air, which is kind of cool. And also the start of the NFL season, which is probably just a teens more significant.
Well, look, I mean, 10 years on the air, year and a half of good shows. That's nothing to shake a stick at, Bill. Nothing bad at all. Yeah.
1/10. But a syndicated local show. I think it's kind of cool.
Hey,
and you guys have been just great. My main guy's on. Tariq, how you doing?
Feeling good. Every year, just happy to be here. Every day, you work on every week just to get a little bit better. That's it. That's how you get here 10 years.
Right. And number 17.
Well, what other jersey to wear today than this? I mean, let's go. It's the step forward to the MVP Super Bowl 17, 18, 19, 20-0 season that the Bills are preparing for right now.
I got in the fourth round of my fantasy draft, and I had to take him. I says, you're not supposed to take a quarterback that early, but I looked at everybody else and says, so he goes fourth in a 10-team league, and I'm happy to have him.
He was there in the fourth because I tried to take him in the first last night. I had the ninth pick, and somebody took him already.
Yeah, but this isn't a Buffalo area type. So, you're not getting a homer play in this.
So not smart then. I get what you're saying.
You have no chance. Hey, let's talk football. Teams that interest you as we prepare to start the season. Who do you care about?
Well, I will curb the Bills for a minute. Obviously, we'll get to the Bills segment. But there are a couple of different teams to watch out for other than the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs had a chance last year, went to the Super Bowl, just didn't have enough against Tom Brady. So see if they can rebound as well. Also, Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. By the time we record this, we'll know exactly who won between them and Dallas. Well, obviously, you want to know who the Super Bowl champions will be this upcoming year, coming off of last year. The one team I will watch out for, other than the Buffalo Bills, will probably have to be, I don't know. Kansas City's probably the only one at the top of the list right now. I think it's really
not necessarily the one that you think is going to win it all, but a team that you're really interested in seeing.
I am very interested in seeing what happens in Los Angeles with the Rams because I, for one, do not understand this Matthew Stafford thing. Like all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford, after laboring in Detroit, and don't get me wrong, like he's a good NFL quarterback. He's the savior for this franchise that couldn't get over the hump with Jared Goff, who, by the way, took you to a Super Bowl. I want to see if I'm wrong. I know I'm not. I know this is all a bunch of hype for nothing, but you have the pieces there if Stafford can be successful where you can actually do something. I don't think he will be, but I want to watch what happens.
I will say this, the Saints. I will watch the Saints because I want to see exactly what Drew Brees leaves, what Jameis Winston will walk into. You still have the same head coach. They've gone through a lot, too, with everything that's gone on with Hurricane Ida and having to move that home game, which is very interesting, in New Orleans now to another facility. So you're kind of playing two road games. And you're playing against Green Bay, who's got their own sort of internal issues.
Absolutely.
So we'll wait and see who will win from that sort of storm and quiet storm. So we'll find out what's going on with them. So I would say probably Green Bay and this Saints game will be the one that everybody will watch out for.
And mine is surprise. It's because it impacts a lot of the future of the Buffalo Bills. I think what the New England Patriots are, starting a rookie quarterback. All the defense opted out last year. They're all coming back, and they spent huge on free agency.
Totally.
Don't dismiss them. I'm not saying they're better because they're not than Buffalo, but they're a team with the culture there and the head coach and everything else going on. It's like, what are they and how good might they become?
Yeah, no, every Sully calling into Boston radio stations would absolutely. Are you kidding me right now?
That's my real last name.
I believe that. He is not kidding. He wants to know whether or not Bill Belichick made the right decision getting rid of Cam Newton, putting this rookie in, going forward. Meanwhile, Miami with Tua, who knows if he's even going to play the rest of this season.
Okay, can I ask a sincere question? Real quick, because you're the Patriots guy, right? The Patriots guy, fine. Everyone is still giving the benefit of the doubt to Belichick because he's a genius. He has a losing record as the head coach of the Patriots without Tom Brady as a starting quarterback. You're aware of that, right? And then, of course, this is a masterstroke in quarterback class by going with Mac Jones because he's ready sooner. They signed Cam Newton late in the offseason last year. You watched him perform. They signed him again and then released him. And
that's paid him almost nothing.
Okay, it doesn't matter. You saw what he had in the tank. You knew you were drafting a quarterback. There were other free agent quarterbacks available that would have fit your mold better. And you re-signed Cam Newton to start a rookie who beat him out? And that's a masterstroke in coach GM world?
In a certain way. I mean, there's a way that. And we were talking about this as far as Dallas goes.
Yes.
Is the one that doesn't always think that they're right. They can double back and they can do things that other franchises don't have the guts or the nerve to do because of their history.
Oh, you know what they can't do, which they absolutely need to do with double back? Get Tom Brady back. Whoops.
They won 7 games last year with that roster. I don't think Belichick clearly lost.
You got to play the Dolphins and the Jets twice. That's
and
4
Buffalo
wins.
Twice.
Okay.
2 automatic losses. I think I'm not saying they're great. I think they're interesting. I think they're a team worth watching.
Let me back up, Bill, for a minute. I don't only think that they're interesting. I think they're getting in line. Listen up. They're getting in line to try to get back up in the position. If you bring in Matt Jones this year, you can find a way to beat Miami. Maybe you're close with the Jets, who also have a rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. Now we're a little bit closer to Buffalo and probably try to reclaim the AFC East. Yeah. I'm not saying they'll be able to do it this year. You take your hits, you take your L's, but you learn for next year and you build over Josh Allen, who you're going to have to deal with for the next 4 years.
And look, one last thing, and I know we're over on this segment. This is about, it was just before they got Josh Allen. I mean, we were talking, and I remember pinning down, it says, the Buffalo Bills have become the team that the New England Patriots now fear because they were organized well. The things that they were doing were looking towards the future. It says now the roles have reversed. I think the Buffalo Bills can look at the New England Patriots as the team that they have to fear down the road because of the way they do business. That's it. This is the Rochester Press Box. We'll talk Buffalo Bills next. Welcome to the debut edition of the Rochester Press Box here at McGregor's. I'm Bill Pucko, and the esteemed panel this week. You know them, some of them you love. I'd like to introduce, we'll start over here, Bob Matthews from WHAM, the former lead columnist at the Democrat Chronicle, Mike Catalana from 13 Wham TV, John DiTullio from WHTK. All right, look, Abby Wambach, phenomenon, we all know that. She comes to town, huge crowds at Salem Stadium. Bob, what do you make of the Wambach phenomenon here in Rochester and how much she means to this town?
She means a heck of a lot, and I did a Mount Rushmore of Rochester sports people a couple of years ago at the DNC, and that she's even bigger now, but she was one of my 4 people. Walter Hagen was one of them, Joe Altobelli, Trent Jackson were the other 3.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box, celebrating 10 years on the air here. Thanks to the people of Channel 13 for putting us on in the very beginning and sticking with us throughout the whole time. Buffalo Bills, we finally have a game to talk about. The line is 6.5. The Bills favorite at home over the Steelers.
Yeah, 6.5, that's a lot of points. I mean, look, the Steelers, everyone makes fun of what happened with the Steelers. They won, 11 games last season? They were undefeated up until, week 14 last season? Yeah, had some injuries when the Bills met them the first time, and, the wheels fall off. Pittsburgh's a good team, right? And this is the first time in a couple of seasons that the Bills have a formidable opponent coming out of the offseason. You played the Jets a couple of times opening day. Just write that down as a W every time they show up. So there's 2 parts of me here. The football analyst hat part of me tells me that this is going to be no problem for the Buffalo Bills. The offense is better than it was last year. You remove Brown, you add Emmanuel Sanders, so that should be fine. The defense is going to be better than it was last year with Star Lotulelei back. Your defensive linemen, the depth you have there is insane with draft picks, first, second, third round draft picks from the last 2 seasons across the board. The Bills fan in me is still not used to what we have going on here. And I could, I always look for worst case scenario. And worst case scenario would be Josh Allen and MVP conversation. The Bills are being picked to go and win the Super Bowl. This team is unstoppable, high flying. And opening day, you come out and lose to a veteran quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger who's lost 30 pounds. By the way, way to wait until now to go to the gym, Big Ben. Football me says Bills are fine. Fan me is horrified for this game.
Which Duffy are you?
Well, I'm the other way, because the first thing I thought of was they have everything. The offense, the defense, the Bills are set. There's nothing really to talk bad about when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. What concerns me is Mike Tomlin and that team. And the Pittsburgh Steelers played very tough. They played very strong. They played very good early on in the season. And I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to bet against Tomlin. I think he's a great coach. I don't want to bet against Big Ben. They find a way to grade out games. But then I thought to myself, that game's in Buffalo. That game is going to be a different environment than last year. That means the fans there are going to add another element to this game. I think this will be a hard-fought game. That's a lot of points, but I still think Buffalo is going to win the game. And I just believe they've got more offense and better defense than last year.
Cover the 6?
Yes.
All right. I agree. I think Buffalo's a 13.5-point better. I don't think Pittsburgh can finish better than third in their own division. I think they're overrated because they are the Steelers, and that still, represents something. But and another factor is that, and you brought it, there's going to be a crowd, and they didn't have crowds last year. And I felt, as much as you hate to make anything out of a preseason game, that the energy in that stadium was palpable for the last preseason game, and that Buffalo, with everything that they have going for them and a crowd behind them, can't miss this week.
I would like to point out my one irrational fear that I have about the crowd, because you're right. I'm going to be in that stadium, and it's going to be rocking and bananas. Because it's the first time fans are seeing him since the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen's most successful season, and he's a guy who plays with a lot of emotion and had problems overthrowing receivers. His best season with no crowd, no fans in the stands. Does that crowd jack him up too much? Look, it's now on tape. I put it out there, so if it happens, I could be like, see, that's my irrational fear. I know it's irrational. There's my irrational fear for the day. There you go. You're welcome.
Why do you do this to yourself? Why do you put yourself in a situation where you're telling me no audience is better than the audience that's backing him in his own stadium?
Yeah, but you get all excited, right? Like, I got Bill's backing me right now. I'm all juiced up. I can tell that he believes what I'm saying. He's into it. See, and I just overthrew you.
You are out talking yourself out of a win the first week out with Super Bowl aspirations.
That's from a guy who picked the Jets last year, by the way.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much.
And almost got it right.
Brilliant football me, they're fine. Bills fan me, I'm locking myself in a bunker and I'm not coming out until February.
Do they cover? 6.5.
The Steelers, you're right. I think they're overrated. Game to game, they're not. I think the Bills win. I don't think they do it by 6.5.
All right, 2 covers and 1 no. This is the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, it's next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
All of these things show Josh Allen has a strive for greatness inside of him.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the Rochester Press Box, this segment of the Press Box, like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared and contact Ganguly Law today. So, like it or not, Derek Jeter going to the Hall of Fame.
Gotta love it. Derek Jeter is the captain. Listen, this is from a Mets fan. For years, he tortured us. For years, it was just unbelievable what Derek Jeter did. But it was really sort of the symbolism and the leadership in that organization for a very long time. Had his hitting slumps, got booed, went through a couple different things, but basically lived a charmed life off the field and on the field and delivered when the Yankees needed the most. Listen, I don't know if there's anybody that's ever going to come close to what the Yankees had with Derek Jeter as shortstop. They probably never will again.
Yeah, some of that's like this core four. Remember the core four? They had these guys that they brought up. I think it was Rivera, Posada,
Jeter,
and Pettit. That's the other one. And these guys, and that's sort of all built into it. Would Jeter have been as big if it weren't the Yankee uniform?
No, this is absolutely insane. Look, I'm going to say, I make a lot of people on the west side of Rochester suburbs very angry, right? And Jeter's, for a sport that is so obsessed with numbers, right? How the heck is Jeter getting all of these accolades going into the Hall? Because you can make an argument he's a Hall of Famer, fine. But the last year and a half, because again, he's had to wait to get into for his moment. Look at his numbers. Look at his numbers. Granted, he never had a losing season in 20 years. That's impressive. But he's one of 30 guys on a roster.
You want to know why? Moments. Moments like diving into the stands, coming out bloody. Moments when you're firing a ball from the outfield in the A's play where he gets the final out there. Moments like that, Mr. November. Moments like that go beyond the numbers. Baseball loves numbers, but they love moments even more.
So should they change the NBA logo to Derek Fisher? Because you can make the argument when it comes to moments that Fisher's got just as many identity as Jeter does, and Jeter had a better supporting cast around him than Fisher did his entire career. I mean, look, I get what Jeter means to the fans. I understand it. I do. I get what he means to the pinstripes. It makes sense to me. What I cannot comprehend is in a sport of stat geeks, no offense, that he is getting such the celebration that he's getting in the last however many months. When you stand him side by side with somebody else, he's just a guy.
The name that I come up with, and I wonder, like, we don't think of as immortal. I mean, is he better than Trevor Story?
He's better than everyone.
Oh my God, better than everyone.
Better than everyone. It isn't about the stat. Duffy, you're talking about home runs average. It's about the moments and plays he put together that are iconic. I can go through my mind right now and think to myself, how the hell did he make that play?
But it ain't the whole of moments, man. Like, out of all the places, like, I get that the lights are brighter in New York, fine, and the pinstripes make you look sexy, great. Sexy man, very nice behind on Derek Jeter. You have Monument Park. Derek Jeter could stand in Monument Park, and the monuments are more impressive than Jeter standing there. With all the history that team has, how this guy has gotten to wear a cape, the feeling's fine. Get out of here with the accolades he's getting going into the Hall of Fame.
Whew. Like it or not, brought to you by King Cooley Brothers
I'm
Law.
sorry,
It's okay. It's okay. Unfinished Business is next.
He's not sorry. The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box for Unfinished Business. Let's start off, for a change, with Pat Duffy.
So, all right, let's talk Buffalo Bills home opener this weekend. The Buffalo Bills might be the youngest veteran team in the NFL, and that might be the best thing the Bills have going for it. Josh Allen's a veteran quarterback. He's the oldest starting quarterback in the AFC East, and he's not above 25 years old. Stephon Diggs has not been in the league all this long, yet he's a top 3, arguably, wide receiver in the league. That defense is peppered with veterans that have been on the field for a while. However, still have the legs to get around. You look at Jerry Hughes and Star Lotulelei, Mario Addison, those guys have been around for a while, but you can spell those guys on the defensive line with the picks we talked about earlier in the first, second, and third round that you've drafted over the last 2 years. And your veteran receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, has shown over the last couple of seasons that if you don't overload him, he's going to be able to get you the plays that you need when the other guys can't get it. You can talk about Josh Allen's contract and how you still have time left. You can talk about the offensive coordinator and Brian Daboll and what he does for Josh Allen and the rest of this offense. But what is going to make this Bills team successful this year is they have legs fresh enough to compete and minds that have been around long enough to understand when to do it. Mark my words, it's those young veteran teams that go the furthest and make the most happen.
Have you ever heard of Shelby Rogers? I have not. She plays tennis and was eliminated from the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open. But during her press conference, she said something that I thought was very interesting. She said after this loss, she's sure to get about 9 million death threats. Now, I thought to myself, I never heard of Shelby Rogers before, but imagine what Naomi Osaka or Sloane Stevenson gets after their loss at their big major events. I guess my question would be, does anybody realize that these threats are criminal? Do social media accounts really understand how important it is to monitor those that are threatening athletes, female or male athletes? I'm just wishing that these social media companies or the sponsors or the tournaments would do something to protect the athletes that seem to be going through a lot of mental stress for people who just have egg emojis threatening to kill them after they lose a quarterfinal game. I don't understand why we can't make this change, but I just want people to understand when somebody says that you've never heard of before, I get 9 million death threats. Imagine what a superstar gets.
Name dropping. I was talking to Rochester Music Hall of Famer John Dady last week, and he told me of the time that he met one of his idols, folk music legend Pete Seeger, and actually got to play with him. One of the real thrills of John's life. Now, I asked him when that was, and Dady said, well, it was the same day that the Buffalo Bills beat the New England Patriots for the first time in 16 years. It was 2011. That was his frame of reference. For John Dady, it was the perfect day. He got to jam with Pete Seeger, and the Bills beat the Patriots. There are times when the things that we talk about here seem amazingly trivial. Sometimes they are. A lot of times they are. But sometimes they're not. We mark time with events such as the Bills' win over New England 10 years ago. It's why history and sports are so intertwined, and it's why the things that we talk about here do occasionally matter. And so, happy birthday to us, our 10th anniversary of the show. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
I could have sworn you were going to drop a terrible word today, just for our 10th anniversary.
To make sure that the start of our 10th season would be the last.
It would be memorable.
It would be memorable, that matters.
But he did drop a couple of terrible words. Welcome to the press box.
Or I thought you were going to say New England Patriots.
Well, that also, it all works. We're all comedians today,
I
guys.
thought he
Come
was
on.
going to say Bill Belichick.
Never fails. Thank you for joining us. See you next week with the Rochester Press Box.